For context, I'm a 19-year-old white female and was 16 at the time. It was about 11 p.m. and I was coming home after a day out with friends in Tokyo. I was staying with a host family in Saitama, a city close to Tokyo, and had been almost at the end of my 1-month stay in Japan. To get to the house, I had to do a 20-minute walk that consisted of about 15 minutes walking next to the train tracks. I had a lot of shopping bags with me, since it was almost the last day and I was buying gifts for people back home, and I had my headphones on listening to music. The streets were empty, as per usual in a Japanese night during a weekday, especially in a residential area. As I was walking by the train tracks, I noticed a man coming the opposite way. He was wearing a hoodie and had a full beard, which is a rare sight in Japan, since having a beard is not seen very well socially. I gave him a glance as he passed by and got a feeling that he was up to no good. A couple seconds passed and the feeling that something was wrong only got stronger, and I decided to turn off the music so that I could be more alert. As I did that, I heard a set of footsteps that weren't mine. I looked behind me and saw that now the man wasn't going the other way. He was a couple meters behind and walking right after me. I froze up a little bit but continued on my way, walking a bit faster. At times like this, you always think, this must be a misunderstanding. He just changed his mind and is going back the way he came. So I was trying not to freak out. After doing the 15-minute walk next to the well-lit train tracks, I had to do 2 turns to get to the house on streets that were pretty dark at night. As I was doing the first turn, I took the chance to look behind me again, and to my surprise, the guy had started running in my direction. I went into full panic mode and started running as well. I turned down the other street and bolted to the doorstep. Now, another detail that I should mention is that the keyhole to the entrance was covered by a lid of sorts that you had to take off before you could open the door. So with that in mind, I dropped all the stuff in my hands and tossed the lid away as I frantically opened the door. I got inside and dropped to the floor. The house was empty and dark, but the curtains were open and the windows were very big, so I just stayed on the floor for what seemed like a couple minutes, too scared to look outside and see him there. I never knew when he stopped following me, but he probably did. Otherwise, he would likely have caught me in the doorway. I'm not sure what he wanted from me, but guy who followed me at night in Saitama, let's not meet again. I was maybe around 13 to 14 years old at the time, and I was recently granted the privilege of staying home alone. Every now and then when I was home alone, I'd hear sounds coming from upstairs, and so I would instinctively call my mom. She then told me a story of how she used to hear things in her old house all the time and how it's just the house settling in. Fast forward to many instances of sounds later, I decided that the very next time I was going to be home alone, I was going to be completely silent and make as little noise as possible. Within the first half an hour, there was nothing, not a peep out of the entire house. I eventually got bored and felt safe, so I went to go grab the TV remote to watch some TV. But a few seconds before I grabbed the remote, I heard a huge crash upstairs and running footsteps. I was sure more than ever that someone was in the house. By now there were plenty of consistent sounds coming from upstairs that it was a fact that someone was upstairs. 14-year-old me decided to hatch up a quick plan. Being the skinny, most non-threatening little girl I was, I first grabbed a kitchen knife. Then I grabbed a shoe and propped open the front door. And after a few moments of some deep breaths, I yelled out in the deepest voice I could, "I know you're upstairs. I'm giving you a chance to leave without me calling the police, but I have propped open the front door and I will be in the bathroom. Be aware that I'm holding a knife, and if you refuse to leave, I will call the police." Sure enough, I walked into the bathroom with my knife, absolutely scared to death that someone will open the door. I wait and I wait until the one sound that to this day will always scare me for this reason. I heard the front door close and the shoe was moved. I quickly locked the door and turned on the alarm system. I hope I never have to see or hear this person again. I was maybe 15 or 16, living in what I thought was a very safe neighborhood in Northern Virginia. I'm a pretty tall girl, so I never felt like an easy target. Dumb, I know. It was approximately 8 p.m., and since I was a little chunky at this age, I was embarrassed to walk to the gym in the daylight. I was extremely self-conscious to where I'd only go to the gym at night so less people would be there, and it was less likely I'd see someone from my high school. The walk is approximately 20 minutes from my house to the gym. I guess the gym closes early on Saturdays because as I walked up to the doors of the gym, I realized it was closed. All the lights were still on, so I went up to the doors to peer inside and read the hours. As I turned around to make my way back home, there was a man walking directly towards me as if he was going into the gym too. I didn't think anything of it and just gave a polite smile and mumbled hello, and he smiled back at me. He also wasn't wearing any workout clothes. I made my way out of the parking lot, crossed the busy intersection, and began walking along the busy road to get to my neighborhood. Since this path has a lot of bike riders on it and I'm listening to my iPod, I look over my shoulder every minute to see if a bike is coming so I can step out of the way. The first few times I looked over my shoulder, no one was there. But eventually, when I looked over my shoulder, that exact same man I saw when I was walking away from the gym was about 100 feet behind me. It immediately struck me as very strange. What was the chance he was going this same way? At this point, I was at the entrance to my neighborhood and took a turn in. I had already taken out my headphones so I could listen behind me. I was running through scenarios in my head of what I should do. I quickened my pace and tried to hurry home. I looked over my shoulder again and he was still following me. At this point, I knew for sure I was being followed. There was no way in hell that he lived this way too. I kept walking quickly and my head was still racing on what to do. Just then, I heard running footsteps behind me, and everyone says that it's fight or flight, and for some weird reason my brain chose fight and I immediately spun around. To my surprise, it was just a local runner dude in the neighborhood that I'd seen before. I must have had a terrified look on my face because he gave me such a weird look and just ran past me. My heart was racing now. As the familiar runner guy passed, I looked behind me again and the man following me was still there. I immediately felt stupid and thought I missed my chance with telling the runner guy a man was following me. Just then, I see a woman walking her 2 dogs. I immediately start speed walking over to her. She's on the opposite side of the road, so I start crossing the road to get over to her quickly. I look over my shoulder one more time and the man is gone. The woman gives me a polite hello and I immediately start sprinting home. I think he thought whatever he was going to do wasn't a good idea anymore because there were too many people around. To the man following me, let's not meet again. Thanks so much for watching. If you have a true scary story you would like featured in one of our future videos, send us an email at themidnightfoxofficial@gmail.com. Our contact information will be in the description below. If you like this video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and turn on notifications to make sure that you don't miss out when we post new content.